Thank you for taking additional comment. I just wanted to give you a story of my experience that goes back a number of years. When I right out of grad school, my first job was work for the National Park Service with the Mission Blue Butterfly in the headlands. And one of the first jobs I got was to actually work with TRA. They were doing the same monitoring they have been doing, they did up until 2000 on this mountain, they did in the park. And so right out of grad school, one of my first jobs was to go out with these monitors and walk around with them to sort of evaluate what they were doing. And very quickly, even just with my knowledge straight out of school, I knew something was not right. And it wasn't long before I went to my boss and basically said, this doesn't seem like monitoring. This is them putting little X's on a map. How can you compare X to X year to year? And yet, and what quickly happened after talking to my boss is we ended their contract. And we went and got real monitoring. And that, I was, had no idea about San Bruno Mountain at the time, and continued to work for the Park Service. And that was my experience. And years later, came to work here, and at that point in time, the method had finally changed, but it kind of blew me away that all those years, something I could have figured out with only a couple of visits with these people right out of grad school, that Fish and Wildlife Service hadn't figured out in all these years. So if they're really looking over the shoulder of all these years of work, how come they didn't discover that? How come that kind of really just ridiculous monitoring? Again, they were making claims from that monitoring that they were getting comparison from year to year, not just distribution. And there is some value in distribution, but that's not what the whole method was about. It was about understanding how is the species doing year from year. And the fact that that could happen tells you a lot about how much oversight is actually happening. What's also important is to really understand that all of these documents, all these studies, come back to the data that's coming from the mountain from TRA. Fish and Wildlife Service is not out there monitoring those butterflies. No one else is out there monitoring those butterflies. All of these studies go back to that data. No matter how beautifully written those documents are, they all reference. The only thing they reference that's in reality is the original work. Okay, and what we know is the original work until 2000 was shoddy. I knew that from my first experience with this same contractor on the mountain. So it's key to understand that we do need to really understand what's been going on the mountain, what those fires have meant to this species. The fire does help in the big picture, but this is no longer a big picture. We lost the bay checker spot on our mountain because of a fire as well. So we're at that point. We're down to the very last. So little impacts, even though the fires can be good, little impacts mean a lot. So I think it's important that we really come back to our understanding of what's actually happening on this mountain. And doing this new AR will help us get that understanding. Thank you.
Thank you.